After going for a walk in the forest, a couple of doctors are forced to take a dangerous shortcut along the trail, where they get stuck in quicksand and find the body of a man. Today we're going to recap the story of the movie, Quicksand, from 2023. A hunter runs frantically through the woods, running away from something terrifying. Suddenly, his partner Diego comes up behind him and scolds him for disappearing, but the guy retorts that the place is too scary to hunt, and adds that they should have continued robbing tourists. Realizing that something is watching their conversation in the bushes, the man runs off again without waiting for his colleague. Soon afterwards, he arrives at a muddy spot, which causes him to slip and fall to the ground. At the same time, someone watches the scene from afar. When he looked back, he came across a bizarre scene: the skeleton of a person already decaying on the ground. On the other hand, Sophia and Josh, a couple of doctors, arrive in Colombia, the woman's homeland. She doesn't seem excited about the place, while her husband does a lot of research into the rainforests using his maps. An argument quickly breaks out when she wants to call her children, but her partner insists that the woman wait until she gets to the hotel. After arriving at their destination, they are met by Marcos, who is also a doctor and thanks them for their help, admitting that Colombia needs more doctors like them. After saying goodbye, the three agree to have dinner later. While checking the reservation, the receptionist claims that there is only one room booked, so the man admits that this is his fault, since he didn't tell his friend that the couple is going through a divorce. Sophia asks for a room with a bigger bed, because she doesn't want to be in a cramped place with her husband. When they realize that the accommodation isn't as big as they thought, the two start arguing again, and the woman leaves the room in a rage. At dinner, Marcos takes the liberty of ordering Colombian food for everyone, unaware that Sophia is a vegetarian. He then invites Josh on a hike to the highest waterfall in Colombia, and the guy quickly replies that his wife doesn't like this kind of activity. At the same moment, she replies that she might like to do something different, but she refuses the invitation and quickly leaves the dinner. Faced with this situation, the doctor confesses that they have recently decided to separate, claiming that they have both undergone changes in their personalities since their marriage and that he believes he is better off alone. The next day, Marcos cancels his appointment to walk with his friend, who also gives up on going alone to the sinister place. On the other hand, Sophia wants to do something different and begs her partner to accompany her, as the roads can be dangerous. Soon after, the hotel receptionist explains the route of the trail to the couple, who intend to choose a shorter route to reach the end of the mountain, through a place called Las Arenas. However, the attendant warns them that the place is known for its danger, claiming that there are many snakes and venomous animals in the treacherous terrain. So they decide to take the long, safe route. After the pair leave the hotel, the receptionist waves to Diego, who responds with the same gesture and rushes out of the building. In the forest, the start of the trail reveals a heavy fog, but the place appears to be an ordinary forest. During the journey, Josh starts to get a little breathless and tired, letting his wife walk a few steps ahead of him. While the man pauses for a drink of water, Sophia moves further and further into the woods. Fortunately, she waits until her husband reaches her. He then tries to thank her for the affectionate gesture, but his wife claims that she took a break because she had cramps. Seeing heavy clouds in the sky, the couple agreed to give up the trail, as it wouldn't do to stay in the forest during a storm. Just as they are about to get into their car, they realize that there is a guy trying to break down the door of the vehicle, which makes them hide behind a rock. At the same moment, Josh decides to confront the thief, against his wife's wishes. Even though he's distracted by the car, the man notices the doctor approaching and deftly pulls out a gun. He then searches his hostage's pockets and asks where the woman is. The doctor refuses to reveal her location, but the guy starts screaming hysterically, which makes Sophia come out of hiding. He then orders her to hand over her bag, which is left on the ground. While trying to collect the bag, Diego receives a powerful blow from Josh and falls to the ground. The couple take the opportunity to flee, but their enemy shoots them several times with his gun while they are running away. When they reach a crossroads, they realize that there is a sign pointing the way to Las Arenas, or the longer road. So they decide to take the most dangerous route, since not even the thief would risk following them there. However, the two start an argument, as Sophia claims that it's all her husband's fault, but the moment is interrupted when the sound of more gunshots rings out. At the same moment, she starts running desperately, leaving Josh behind. However, the woman doesn't realize that there's a branch in her way, which causes her to hit her head hard. After a while, she wakes up with a nasty head wound and starts shouting her companion's name, while walking in a dazed manner. Suddenly, she sinks into some kind of quicksand, which swallows up her body until only her head and arm remain outside. At the same time, Josh comes looking for her, about to fall into the same pit, but his wife warns him to be careful of the ground. The man tells her to try and move and holds out a fragile branch towards her, but Sophia can barely stretch out her arm. The woman becomes desperate and begins to struggle, causing her body to sink completely into the sand. On seeing the scene, the guy's first impulse is to jump into the mud to save his beloved. He searches for her inside the pit and pulls her back to the surface. However, now they are both trapped in the quicksand and unable to move. In town, Marcos knocks on his friend's bedroom door, but leaves when he gets no answer. However, he doesn't realize that there's a voice message telling him that the couple have decided to go hiking. In the forest, Josh claims that in the travel guide there was no indication that someone could lose their life bogged down in the mud, but it doesn't explain how to get out of such a place. Spotting an egg on the sand, the woman has the idea of trying to float on the wet earth, so she asks her husband to pull her up. The doctor uses all his strength to lift her up, but her body barely moves. Suddenly, she starts to feel something moving in the mud, so the two of them try to pull it to the surface together. Just then the body of a pale man appears before them. After briefly analyzing the subject, Sophia applies her knowledge of medicine and suggests that the reason he lost his life was excessive hunger. Faced with this, Josh takes the poor adventurer's backpack and puts his body back in the depths of the sand. When they search the bag, they find flashlights, a knife and even a gun, as well as other not very useful objects. The man has the idea of cutting the bag into strips to make a makeshift rope that his wife can use to lasso a rock on the hill behind him, so that she can pull herself out of the mud. While they are making the rope, the venomous animals of the forest begin to appear in the vicinity of the quicksand. At the hotel, Marcos is sitting at reception and notices that the thief has arrived carrying Sophia's handbag. He immediately questions the guy, who pretends not to know anything. However, the doctor realizes that Diego's shirt is stained with blood, so he goes after the delinquent, causing him to fall to the ground and a gun to be revealed. In Las Arenas, the pair finish making the rope, but when the woman tries to throw it towards the rock, they realize that there are still more than 2 meters to go before they can tie it off. Faced with this situation, Josh claims that he can take off his jacket to produce another piece of rope, but his wife believes that he can't stand the cold in the forest. In this way, he tries to think positively, claiming that Marcos will be able to find them because he will ask the police for help and he misses his friends. While watching the sky, the doctor realizes that there is a helicopter flying overhead and the two begin to shout desperately in order to be heard. Realizing that no one will hear her cries, Sophia tries to burn a wet Bible so that the smoke produced will attract the attention of the people in the helicopter. Her strategy doesn't work, so she grabs the makeshift rope to set it on fire, but the man stops her, since the helicopter might not notice them and they could lose the most useful object there. After giving up on calling for help, the pair start talking and the woman claims that something is biting her. When the doctor takes a closer look, he realizes that there are dozens of ants hurting his wife's neck, so he suggests that she pour some alcohol on her skin, as the liquid will scare the insects away. When the desperate situation is resolved, the doctor is relieved, but saddened that her husband hid a bottle of booze in his clothes, believing that he had given up drinking. During the argument, neither of them realizes that something is sneaking up on them. Sophia remembers that they could have used the shotgun to draw the helicopter's attention, and her companion cries as he realizes that they've lost the best chance they had of getting out of there. He then hands the loaded gun to the woman, who tries to use the piece of leather on the handle to increase the size of the rope. At the same time, her husband seems to have no hope of them getting out of there, but no one notices that something is getting closer and closer to them. Suddenly, Sophia notices that there is a venomous snake behind the man. It crawls slowly towards the egg in order to protect its young. Faced with this situation, the doctor tries to calm his wife down, trying to convince her to pick up the gun and shoot the snake, even though she has never done so in her life. As she holds the gun, the animal takes a fatal bite out of Josh's arm. The woman quickly tries to calm her husband down so that his heart rate doesn't increase too much, as this could cause the poison to spread faster. This way, they can have around 6 hours before their organs start to fail. At the police station, Marcos tries to bribe the thief by offering him money in exchange for locating his friends, but the guy doesn't trust his word and demands the watch on the doctor's arm. Diego says that a week ago he went to Las Arenas with a colleague to hunt snakes, but he returned alone. At the same moment, Marcos begs the policeman to release him from the cell, claiming that his companions are in extreme danger. Yet he gets no response. In the forest, Josh begins to despair, but his wife tries to calm him down to reduce the speed with which the poison reaches every part of his body. She then asks to check the site of the wound and notices that there is a reddish lump. Soon after, the man asks why Sophia has changed her mind about doing the walk, which makes her think that he is trying to blame her for everything that is happening. He tries to explain, but is interrupted when he feels an intense pain in his neck, revealing that the veins there are dark because the poison is coagulating his blood. Because of her experience at work, the doctor realizes that she needs to perform an invasive procedure to prevent him from having a stroke. Josh doesn't believe she can do the operation, as she hasn't practiced surgery for a long time, but she insists on helping him. As the woman finishes heating the knife, she realizes that the wound is getting worse with every passing second. Faced with this situation, the man agrees to let her carry out the procedure. In a moment of great concentration, his wife skillfully removes the clot and then finishes closing the wound. At the same time, Josh begins to feel dizzy and faints from the pain caused by the minor surgery. After about an hour, he wakes up well, but the doctor asks him not to move as he may be in shock. Soon afterwards, Sophia wonders if her children are already aware of their parents' disappearance, but her partner believes and hopes that they don't know. The woman claims that she won't be able to make it in time to present her lecture and that it was important for her to get a raise and return to practicing medicine. The doctor lost her identity after becoming a mother and wife, giving up work to provide for her family. Her husband, on the other hand, believes that she made the best possible choice, since their children had their mother by their side when they were growing up. Afterwards, the couple end up lovingly confessing to each other. Later, Sophia has the idea of using the snake to extend the length of her rope. Even so, she has to find it in the forest, believing that the animal is somewhere nearby, since it wouldn't leave its nest so easily. However, Josh confesses that he won't be able to help his wife in her mission to shoot the snake, so he collapses seconds later. The doctor then throws objects to attract the animal's attention and it starts to move towards the quicksand. However, when Sophia drops the binoculars and picks up the gun, she realizes that the snake is no longer in the same place, without noticing that it is crawling out of her field of vision. Realizing that the animal might be smarter than she thought, the woman tries to look through the reflection of the knife, then notices that her enemy is approaching from behind. At the same moment, she fires her gun at the monster, but fails to hit it. Faced with this, she grabs the knife, but receives a bite from the snake, which now begins to wrap itself around her body, trying to suffocate her to the end. The animal wraps around Sophia's neck, causing her to lose consciousness. However, the doctor concentrates and holds the animal very tightly, so Josh wakes up and manages to hit it with a knife blow. After her victory, the woman mends the rope and begins to throw it towards the rock. After a few attempts, she finally manages to hit the rock, then pulls her own body out of the mud, even though she feels a lot of pain from the poison in her bloodstream. Just as the doctor is about to step off the cliff, one of her tethers snaps. Even so, she is very close to solid ground and manages to drag herself out of the pit. Soon afterwards, Sophia runs towards her husband to pull him out of the quicksand, but he is already losing consciousness. When the man wakes up, his wife reaches out to help him out, but he can't move due to the effects of the poison on his body. Faced with this, the doctor begs her to call someone for help, as she won't be able to get him out on her own. So the woman leaves the place and walks staggering through the forest, about to lose consciousness too. Suddenly, she steps on another muddy spot, which gives her a tremendous fright and she quickly moves away from the hole in front of her. After dark, she walks deeper and deeper into the darkness of the forest, unsure of where she is and where she is going. The poison in her body spreads faster and faster, causing Sophia to faint and hallucinate, imagining that she is presenting her lecture on a stage. In the background of her dream, she hears the sound of a siren, then regains consciousness and realizes that Marcos has just arrived on the scene with the first aid team. Her friend quickly asks where Josh is, but the woman doesn't have the strength to answer, so she just points her head in the direction the man is. Sophia is examined by some of the firefighters, while the rest of the team continues to search for her missing companion. After receiving the antidote to the poison, she regains consciousness again and realizes that the group of lifeguards has just returned from the trail, bringing her loved one back safe and sound on a stretcher. At the same moment, she reaches out and takes Josh's hand, leaving behind all the sadness surrounding their marriage. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you like the video, like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.